Welcome everyone to Finds of Yesterday. Today we are discussing the history and design of Miriam Haskell. She was a jewelry designer. So let's jump in. We're going to discuss the history, the designers, and the style that they used, as well as the construction of how they put the pieces together, and then the jewelry tags and the cartouches that they used on the backs. And then at the end, we're going to jump over to eBay and take a look at the solds for the past 90 days and see what's selling in Miriam Haskell. So Miriam Haskell, who's here on the right in her younger days, she got her business permit in July of 1926. And she brought on Frank Hess, who joined the company as her jewelry designer. She was the businesswoman, he was the artist. And by the 1930s, Haskell's career was well established, and several famous people had large collections of her work, like Gloria Vanderbilt, Lucille Ball, Joan Crawford, the Duchess of Windsor. But by the 1950s, after Miriam Haskell's health declined, she sold the company to her brother Joseph Haskell, and Frank Hess remained there. Frank remained until about 1960 and worked for Kramer for 3 years after that. Then Morris Kinsler owned it from 1955 to 83, and it went from a limited manufacture to a large production. Robert Clark designed for Haskell from 1960 to 68, and he used dimensionality, symmetry, and boldness, unlike Hess, who used asymmetrical designs. The necklace on the right was designed by Camille Petranzio, and she was the designer there from 1980 till today, I believe. I'm not positive on that, but how long she's been there. And the company changed hands several times throughout the Haskell journey and continues today for almost 100 years. So their pieces may be more sought after in the next couple of years leading up to their 100-year anniversary. In the earlier days of Haskell, their designs reflected nature in a variety of artistic ways, and it was carried throughout its lifetime. They used a lot of flowers, vines, birds, leaves, butterflies, a lot of natural things, and they paid attention to the details of every piece. As you can see in this necklace here, they have a combination of beads and findings that just make this piece beautiful. Another thing they paid attention to was center motifs. A lot of their necklaces are not just beaded necklaces or just a round strand. They all have a center motif. Not all, but they focused a lot on dramatic center motifs. They also did a lot of fringed brooches. You can see all the beads they just strung. They used a lot of wire and a lot of fringe. They also used silk cord wrap bracelets and necklaces. So silk cord was braided and formed into shapes. As you can see, the necklace on the top has a loop that they included in that would be allowed for a button to go through. So that's the types of things that they used. And beaded collars were another popular thing. This necklace here was designed by Larry Verba, and they did a lot of the designers did beaded collars. They also did pom-pom beaded necklaces, which this one on the right is just adorable. They also used natural products like wood, plastic, bone, ivory, shells, seeds, glass, bakelite, and cloisonne. And they used exquisite handmade beads from Europe like France, Czech, Germany, and Italy beads. Some of the other materials they used in the construction was Baroque pearls, seed beads, this filigree, and they had wired construction. You'll see here Haskell's filigree backings that she used, And it went through a 6 to 7 step process, which created a Russian gold look. Like the top right one is Russian gold. The solution contained 24 karat gold plus some other ingredients. So as more and more pieces were dipped, the gold content got lower and lower. So sterling silver was used for light white silver parts, rhodium, the look of silver in Russian dark antique silver colors like the bottom in the middle here. So these were used on many of her pieces. So prototypes are made and it goes through an approval process. Originally, Miriam, Frank would do this, and later a team started doing it. The owner, the head designer, and important staff. They determine if a line or a piece would be manufactured. It started with this A, B, C combination, and A being the most complex, B being a medium complexity, and C being simple. A line consists of necklaces, bracelets, pins, clips, earrings, and can occasionally include hair ornaments, stick pins, and belts. In the 1940s to now, a line included a simple choker and matinee-length necklace. So the average time it took to create all 3 levels was determined. Then they added the cost of goods, and then a price was figured. Sometimes individual pieces or entire lines were not put into production, so these pieces were broken apart and kept in the archives. Once in a while they would take their one-of-a-kind pieces and give them to store owners as gifts. So you can imagine there might be one-of-a-kind pieces out there of Miriam Haskell that a store owner got, and it gradually got handed down to the next person. And gradually the entire archive was sold starting in the 1990s. Sometimes one earring was made, and according to interviews there were boxes of these, and they would make them into stick pins later. And that's only one-offs. So you might find one stick pin and never find that stick pin again. Pearls were Haskell's bread and butter. She never used real cultured pearls. And from the 1920s to the 50s, glass beads were purchased and sent to Brooklyn or Long Island, where they were pearlized with an emulsion of fish scales, and they could be dyed. They came in round, teardrop, oval, rice, and button shapes, and other unique forms. The glass pearls that people associated with Haskell's signature look came from Nikki Company of Tokyo, Japan. And in 1958, Hess licensed Nikki Company to be the exclusive supplier of Baroque and smooth pearls to Haskell. So any piece of Haskell you may have with Nikki pearls cannot be older than 1958. Here you'll see a variety of earring clips that she used. And you can see they are all different, so it's kind of hard to determine if it's a Haskell just by the clip. Many of hers were signed with either Miriam Haskell wrote out or Haskell, and that's about the only determining feature on that, other than the filigree usually is a good feature of Haskell's. Then we had the mesh backing and the wire construction. So she used this mesh backing with all these holes so that she could use the wire that she was connecting the beads to the back with could go through and hold tightly so they wouldn't be glued on and fall off gradually. This kept her pieces in really good shape for a long time. The one on the right and the one on the left are metal, and the one in the middle is plastic, and she converted to plastic during World War II because metal was getting a little harder to find and plastic was readily available. So you'll see some of these, you'll know exactly what time frame it is from. The back of this necklace shows that this is a wired construction, but they covered the wire mesh with these smooth plates. Another signature of Miriam Haskell is the lovely clasps that she has. It may be on the back of your neck, but she did not spare any attention to detail. She has some wonderful pieces that you could actually turn and make them a side piece because the clasp is so pretty. And you'll see here on in the middle are a variety of different metal clasps, box clasps, and the backs of what they look like. The spring ring on the bottom left is one of the spring rings that she used, and you'll notice that it doesn't have the little thumb tab. So let's discuss a little bit about the marks that she used, so it'll help you distinguish whether it's from the 40s or from the 70s. So from 1926 till about the 1940s, they used the black and gold hang tag. It's paper, so you don't find that very often anymore. And that's why you'll see unsigned pieces, because it did have a paper tag on it at one time, but somebody loved it and wore it and took the tag off. After World War II, fakes came from Japan, and she decided to start using a permanent signature at that time. So the first mark that she used was this horseshoe mark on the top. It was used from about 1947 to the 50s, and don't forget all the unsigned pieces were still out there, and there might have been some that trickled in that time frame too. Some newer pieces. So in 1951 to about the 70s, they used an oval metal plaque with Miriam Haskell wrote out in block letters with capitals, and it was stamped into the metal, which created a signature in reverse on the back. So it was easier to solder and could be used as a hang tag as well. Where the horseshoe-shaped one was hard to solder onto filigree, so that's why they decided to change the tag. This one seemed to work a little bit better. They decided to change it again in 1979 when Sandy Moss decided that he wanted a single-sided version with a flat back. So that's what you'll see nowadays. Alright, let's jump over to eBay and see what Miriam Haskell's pieces are going for. Alright, let's jump in. I'm just going to scroll through here and look at some of the prices of these. I do have Miriam Haskell typed in minus the lots, and I have this sorted by the highest to the lowest. Some of her higher pieces are sets. This one sold for probably around $4,000, the pink one. We have just a simple emerald, I can't read this next word, Katili lemon or melon bead necklace, super rare it says, that sold for $2,255. As you can see here it says sold. So on the left I scroll down and I click on the sold and completed items so we know what actually sold prices are. Miriam Haskell huge pearl baroque rhinestone, $2,000. Here's a pretty pearl necklace with some pretty accents, over $2,000, or right at $2,000. Here's a Miriam Haskell lot for $1,900. That's actually very reasonable. Oh, it has Shriner and Juliana, still a good price. Look at this pretty green emerald color, $1,375. Had 31 bids. $1,200 for this set. This is gorgeous. This almost looks like check beads. It says Grapoi. Let's pull this one up. I'm trying to see where they consider a Grapoi. Grapoi is usually poured into the frame. It is signed there on the back, Miriam Haskell, and it has a hang tag. It has both. Not really seeing the Grapoi on here, but it sold for $1,200. Beautiful. Unless it's this center stone right here. Alright, sorry for the fast scrolling. Let's go back. Here's another one, just simple. 1200. 1000. Another one that's probably around $800 or $900. Look at this gorgeous one. The smoky quartz turquoise pearls, $945. Here's a rare Vaseline glass one. This sold for probably around $800. Very pretty. Signed on the back. It has the oval cartouche up here. And the earrings. Try that again. Right there. Beautiful piece. She used a variety of stones in her pieces. Remember, from all over Germany, Italy, Czech. A lot of this color, dark silver pearls. She must have had them dyed. Here's a pretty blue. Here's a light turquoise, blue gilt. Here's some pretty glass leaves. These are another thing that she used, was a variety of shaped glass. Them are really pretty. That one sold for almost $600. So you get an idea of how much some of these pieces are going for. The max that they're going for on eBay. If you go to Etsy, they might be more. Here's some pretty blue stones. This looks like a confetti type glass. How pretty. There's a omega collar. Pretty yellow ones. We're at the 650 mark for a lot of these pearls. These are Baroque pearls. Like I said, she sells a lot of them. They're her signature bread and butter pieces. There's some more of these poured glass, are blown glass, and they're pressed. Lots of pearls. Now these are not real pearls. These are, like I said, glass pearls from the Nike company. Look at this piece. Rare red cluster. And she also did use lots of rhinestones. She used a lot of seed beads and natural products as well, but some of her rhinestone pieces are gorgeous. $555 that sold for. Alright, you get an idea of how how expensive some of these can be, but let's go down to the lowest price ones. So here we are, starting lowest to highest. These are sold prices now. This first one here is sold for $5. These are kind of simple. They're $2.59, some 99 cents, another $5. Let's see if we can get into a little bit higher end ones. $5.99, $5. Here's a stick pin for $5. And then shipping on top, so really about $10. Here's a simple vintage gold Milgrain bar pin. You'd be surprised what comes out of Miriam Haskell's warehouse. This is an interesting one. It's a little cluster beaded earrings, $6.99. Here's some rhinestones. If you want something simple, you want a Miriam Haskell piece and you want something simple, you can get them for $10 to $15. It's a unique necklace. Here's a broke pearl. That's so common for her. Clip earrings. Pretty dangle. Is this a brooch? Yeah, this one's one of the fringe brooches. That's actually very reasonable. $15. Let's move ahead a couple screens. 15, 15. This is unusual for Miriam Haskell. A copper leaf bracelet or necklace. This must be, it says 1930s. I would guess 50s, like retro. But it's probably unsigned. Not seeing a signature. This is an interesting one. A wire wrap bracelet. These are Miriam Haskell signed earrings. I have some that are, I would say, pretty close, or if not exact, but mine aren't signed Miriam Haskell. Common Nikki pearls. Here's a really pretty pin. There's that center motif on the necklace. Again, I'm going to jump ahead a couple screens to get into the $30 range, because them might be the pieces you see around more. It's different. This one's interesting. Here's a bracelet with a nice clasp. Again, her famous clasps. Orange and green art glass. That is a good example of Miriam Haskell right there. We're in the $23, $25 plus $5 shipping range. There's some plain simple Baroque pearl clip earrings for $25 plus $5. This is another piece right here that I find on occasion. I've found a couple of these so far, and I've sold them for more than $25, but that's a little flower that is pretty common with her. Let's look at the back. And mine were both unsigned. This one's a clip. There's the mesh back, and you can see the wire construction on this. And I don't see a signature, so that's something you'll probably be able to find out in the wild. And they sell fast. Here's a nice filigree piece. That's still very reasonable. What's this? Gold tone brooch. That's very simple. It's just like they took one of their findings and sold it, put a pin on the back and sold it that way. Her filigree findings were thicker back then than you'll find today. Japan, that came out with the fakes to try to replicate Haskell, is much thinner. Here's a nice piece. That's very similar to one I had, but mine was multicolored, but that shape. Probably $25 plus $5 shipping. Sold in no time. Here's some nice simple ones. $29. A little bit more of a Haskell look to it. Here's a fringe brooch. Mario. She had lots of designers, and they all kind of stuck with the design of Miriam Haskell, which is nice because I love her work. Here's another one of them little flowers and seed beads. $29 plus $6 shipping. Pools of Light necklace. It's another interesting one. I'm going to jump ahead and get into a little bit higher priced. And we're still in the $39 range. You can see she has tons and tons of jewelry that sells on a regular basis. So if you're ever out and about and you run into Miriam Haskell, here's the book I was referring to. Pick it up. Pick up the jewelry. I know the unsigned pieces are going to be a little bit harder until you get used to seeing her stuff. But once you have the book, you'll be able to pick it out. There's a nice beaded bracelet. The book's only around $50. It's not too bad. Some jewelry books can range in the $200 range. I'm on page 15 on eBay. There's another one of those flower ones. This is interesting, the milk glass, and elephants, and birds, lots of vines, leaf motifs, flowers. I'm on page 15 and we're only at the $50 mark. I jumped up and we're still only at the $60 mark. Another one. So I think you can get an idea. This looks very similar to one I have right now, except mine's in a moon shape, but it's got these exact little flowers on it. This one's really cool. This one's got some vines. It looks more like the book piece. This one's really pretty blue. Them blue stones just glow. One more page. Now here's an interesting looking autumn Halloweenish stone. She found some unique stones that she brought over. Here's a white one, little colored beads in the center. Attention to detail. Lots of texture in her pieces. Good eye candy. Here's a nice pink bracelet memory wire. She did use these bars across her bracelets to hold them upright nicely. Alright, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you'll know when we put out another video similar. Thanks for joining me. See you on the next one.